Hey everyone, I'm glad you're checking this out. Thanks for joining with me. So we've been in the Old Testament prophet of Hosea, and God literally had this man, this prophet, live out the pain of God's own relationship with his people. Hosea's name means salvation, and God picked out a girl for him, and he fell in love with her, and she didn't know how to be loved. She didn't know how to be a wife. Her name was Gomer. Gomer means to complete. Only she did not complete Hosea, not yet at least. She just kept breaking his heart, moving in with other men. They bought her nice things, but they used her, they abused her. And this all kind of totally reflects how Israel's gods and how our idols today use and abuse us, enslave and addict us. But chapter 3 in Hosea, she's living in sin with another man, similar to how God's people treated him with their counterfeit gods. But word came to this man Hosea, who lived this out, that she's for sale. She's up for sale, cheap, in one of the big cities nearby. And Hosea faces this huge dilemma. He's wrestling with the right thing to do. What should I do? On the one hand, I'm through. I'm done. I've had it with her. Screw it. Ever felt that? But on the other hand, I love her. Isn't it strange that we often grow to hate what we loved once they hurt us or once they don't love us? Our love can be very fickle, but God's love is not that way. In the middle of Hosea's wrestling with what to do, the Lord spoke to him. He spoke to him. It's funny that we have these conversations, what should I do? But really the issue is, what does God want me to do? What does the one who loves me and knows and is sovereign through this really want me to do? Sometimes we have these really hard conversations, with ourselves. We know what we want to do. Sometimes we don't know what we want to do, but bottom line, we want to protect ourselves. We want to be happy, on our terms. We want the easiest path. Sometimes we actually think of what the Lord wants, but still we want what we want, and that just happens too often, and then we justify our own choices and stuff. But how blessed when God speaks. When we want God's direction, especially if we're struggling with the right thing to do, and then God speaks and we believe. Because God does speak, but we don't always believe. We don't always hear because we want what we want. And it's not usually what God says is not what our friends say, but he usually speaks to something that's already in your heart. And this is what happened with Hosea. In Hosea chapter 3, verse 1, then the Lord spoke to me and said, go again and love a woman who was loved by her husband, yet is an adulteress. Go again, love. This isn't the first time that she was stranded outside some dude's house at 4 a.m. This isn't the first time that Hosea had to forgive her. Okay? Go again, love. That's so amazing. Go again and bring her home. Go again and find her. Go again and love the wife that you love who breaks your heart. Question: how could Hosea still love her? How could any of us do this? How hard that would be, after all that she's done. It's in the very next phrase in verse 1. Hosea 3:1. It says, go again, love her. But then it says, even as the Lord loves the sons of Israel, though they turn to other gods. In other words, love as Christ has loved you. And God does it to us again. He makes it all about his love. He draws us into his love, into the fullness of all that we have in God. That's what he's calling him to. Love her as I love you. God knows that you are selfish and I am selfish. We are prone to wander and susceptible to temptation. Yet he loves you. And he knows, we are all too human, yet he loves. And how blessed we are when we enter in our hurt into the love of God. And that is the only place where we find a means to love and to forgive those who hurt us. We still love them, but they hurt us so bad we kind of convince ourselves that we don't. God doesn't let us do that. Our friends may convince us of that, but God does not. And not just with marriage, not just with relationships, but in all of life, let God speak to you. Don't just think in your flesh. Even if you think of his words, you consider his words, you're still considering them in the flesh. You need to hear God's voice. So turn to him with faith and let him speak to you in his word or through your friends or through the words that you already know and trust. Don't just go against him when deep in your heart you want to hear from God and you know what he wants, and he will walk you through it. He will bless you through it. He will draw you into his love and help you to love others. And that is so good. It's risky, it's dangerous, but it is so good when we are that loved and that able to love. Okay, may you be blessed as you walk with Jesus by faith. Bye-bye, everybody.